The thorough analysis of the origin of species. Lesson 22. A crocodile lived on the top of Mountain Everest. Charles Darwin treats with the geological succession of organic beings in Chapter 11. Let's now see whether the several facts and laws related to the geological succession of organic beings accord best with the common view of the immutability of species, or with that of their slow and gradual modification through variation and natural selection. Species belonging to different genera and classes does not change at the same rate or in the same degree. Fossils of an existing crocodile are found in the sub-Himalayan deposits, and the Silurian lingua differs but little from the living species of this genus. These several factors accord well with natural selection, which includes no fixed law of development, causing all the inhabitants of an area to change abruptly or simultaneously or to an equal degree. The variability of each species is independent of that of all others, and such variation or individual differences are accumulated through natural selection in a greater degree or less degree because their surroundings are different. When many of the inhabitants of any area have become modified and improved, we can understand that any form which did not become in some degree modified and improved would be liable to extermination on the principle of competition in the struggle for life. Because organisms already differing would vary in a different manner, we can clearly understand why a species, when once lost, should never reappear, even if the very same condition of life, organic and inorganic, recur. This rule strictly accords with the theory of natural selection for all the species of the same group, however long it may have lasted, are modified descendants from a common progenitor. Some groups have endured from the earliest known dawn of life to the present day, and some have disappeared before the close of the Paleozoic period. There is no fixed law to determine the length of time during which any single species or any single genus endures. The theory of natural selection is grounded on the belief that each new variety and ultimately each new species is produced and maintained by having some advantage over those with which it comes into competition, and the consequent extinction of the less favored forms almost inevitably follows. Hence, the improved and modified descendants of a species will generally cause the extermination of the parent species. And if many new forms have been developed from any one species, it accords with the theory of natural selection that the nearest allies of the species of the same genus will be the most liable to extermination. Scarcely any paleontological discovery is more striking than the fact that the forms of life change almost simultaneously throughout the world. European chalk formation can be recognized in distant regions: North America, South America, the Cape of Good Hope, and India. The organic remains at these distant points present an unmistakable resemblance to those of the chalk. These say that all those modifications of species is not local and temporary, but depend on general laws which govern the whole animal kingdom. This great fact of the parallel succession of the forms of life throughout the world is explicable on the theory of natural selection. It is also natural that species having some advantage over all the forms would have the best chance of spreading farther. Thus, the parallel and simultaneous succession of the same forms of life throughout the world accords well with the principle of new species having been formed by dominant species spreading widely and varying. The new species thus produced being themselves dominant, owing to their having had some advantage over their already dominant parents, as well as over other species, and it is the principle of natural selection that those new species again spread, vary, and produce new forms. It is a common belief that the affinities are between extinct species and existing species, and that the more ancient form is, by so much, the more it tends to connect by some of its characters groups, now widely separated from each other. The concept of the more ancient, the nearer, is inexplicable outside of natural selection. On this same theory, it is evident that the fauna during any one great period in the Earth's history will be intermediate in general character between that which preceded and that which succeeded it. On the theory of descendant with modification, the great law of the long enduring but not immutable succession of the same type within the same area is at once explained. See you next. Shalom.